Oh, so here's a wider shot showing you what I was getting at. That when you run the carriage all the way up to the end here, where I had it to support the end of the rod in the proper position, then that little bit of that little gap might make a difference. But I bring down here. The further I bring the carriage down this way, the less critical that's going to be, because there's a certain amount of flexibility in the lead screw. Well, not only that, but you've got that angle. That angle is changing, and that few degrees of deflection down this end is going to be nothing already right here. Like I said, if I can engage the lead screw, no problem. The half nut, no problem. And it's not trying to pull that block back out, even though there's nothing holding that block in there, other than the light fit that I've got. So, what next? Well, next I've got to figure out how I'm going to fasten that block to the plate. Alright, so now I just made sure that the lead screw is in all the way down the other end. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scribe a line to show me where that block is supposed to be sitting, because that's of course going to be screwed into place. I mean, I could take a measurement from the end here with a depth mic or something, but this should suffice. This aluminum's so nice and soft, it's easy to scribe into. Alright, just set up so I could drill the first of the two holes that the screws are going to go through the back here and hold that block in place. So I'm going to put two screws in through the back. So my holes here are going to be clearance holes, and I'm going to tap and thread the holes in the block, and then I'm going to countersink the holes on the back side here so that the flathead screws I have will be flush, so that when I put this bracket on the lathe they won't stick out the back. So I use my edge finder to find this edge, and then I knew I wanted to be in 250 thousandths that way for my first hole, and then I came out and found this edge, locked the table, then I found this edge, and I knew I needed to be 840 thousandths from this edge in this way to get to the center line of that slot, which is where I want to be. I'm going to call it in there with a center drill. I'm going to center drill the hole, and then I use the same size. The reason why I use such a small center drill is so that I can use the same collet for this drill bit. So I'm going to drill the center hole, I'm going to center drill the hole, and then countersink for the screw. Do all those operations on this hole before I move over to the other hole. Alright, so I measured the head of this screw that I'm going to use, and it's 375 thousandths, and I found the 375 thousandths, I don't know what that is fractional, but I found a countersink that size. So if I bring this down so that the very top edge of this angle on the countersink is flush with the top, that should give me just the right size for a flush fit with this screw. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my depth stop on my quill to control that. Alright, that's good. I think I'm just going to run the, move the table over to do the next hole and do the countersink. Just get that over with, and then, because I've got the depth stop set, so that should give me a pretty controlled. Yeah. On second thought, I think I'm just going to do it the way I did the first hole. Although now with the depth stop set, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, yeah, I should be able to drill that hole. No, I won't. That's right. Never mind. Alright, I'm going to figure out how far I'm going to move that over. It's 250 thousandths from the edge. So the next hole center should be 500 thousandths over from that. Should be right there. Well, I guess I can't start a countersink with this kind of a countersink. It's not designed for it. This countersink actually came out better. I had to forget about the idea of using the stop because I had to move the table down to get the drill bit in. So I just did this by eye, and that now is nice. I think this one's going to be just a hair deeper, so I'll try and bring this back over 500 thousandths. I'm going to reset my dial so I can make up for the lost motion. That should be 500 thousandths right there. Perfect. Alright, I like it. Alright, so now I got to figure out what size drill and tap I want to use to drill the holes and then tap the holes. So these are the screws I decided to use. As luck would have it, I have a box of these, so I was able to look on the side of the box and see that these are 1032 screws. You know, I could have gotten the major diameter and probably figured it out that way, but with the threads being so fine and everything, my thread gauges, it'd be a little bit difficult to see. I guess with magnification it would be fine, but in my eyes, just a lot easier that I don't have to do that. So 1032. So then I've got these. This is a general gauge, and this is a drill and wire index gauge. And I actually noticed I also have a Starrett one, but basically these are identical other than the manufacturer. What's nice though is this one's got its original envelope, and it's a lot easier to read on the envelope. So down here it says tap size. So if I go down here to 1032, it tells me the tap drill I'm supposed to use is a number 21 drill. But there's also the decimal equivalence over here. So if I come over here to 21, I can actually see that that's 0.159. So if I don't have a number 21 drill bit, I can I could probably get something close, fractional. I mean, let's see. So this is 159. That's too small. What was that? Oh, I forgot that I had this big index right here that has number drills in it, and looks like I have a number 21. So that worked out nicely. Now I just gotta find a 1032 tap. Alright, so I set my depth stop on my quill. I used a center point to locate over the little dimple that I made with the punch. Alright, so I'm ready to drill my drill my first hole to be tapped, and I use this center point in the drill, and I just looked at it under magnification, and as soon as I could get to the point where I lowered the drill, the center point went right into my little transfer punch mark. I knew I was lined up. And then I don't want to drill the hole. I want to drill the holes deep enough so I'm not tapping into a blind hole that I'm hitting the bottom of. But I didn't want to drill into the bearing. I mean, if I drill into a tiny bit, that's okay, but I don't want to drill through it. So to set the depth of the hole, I set my depth stop. What I did was I took this little depth finder here, went on this side here where the chuck wasn't in the way, figured out exactly what the maximum depth I can go is, and then I use that, transfer that right up to my depth stop up here on the quill. So what I did was I set the quill, I set the depth stop with the drill bit just touching the top, and then I spun the fine depth control to add just the right amount. So theoretically, nothing goes wrong. I should be able to freely drill this without worrying about going all the way through. The other thing I did was where my original mark was, my transfer punch mark was, if I drilled at that spot, I would have a very, very thin wall left on the outside here. So what I did was I moved the position over that way 50 thousandths, and so that's going to have the effect of moving this entire block over 50 thousandths, but I've got some leeway to play with over there where this mounts to the slot, so I should be okay there. Alright, so get some safety glasses. This is the drill chuck that I was using earlier, and I was not happy with the fact that it seemed like it was out of whack. Same drill chuck, and no longer is it running out. I mean, it might still be running out with an indicator on it, but I mean, it was running out enough, a large enough amount before that it was perceptible to me with the naked eye. The only thing I can figure is that I grabbed a different collet, because I have several of the same size collets, so that's the depth that I set it for. So looking down in the hole, I don't see any change of color, so I'm not hitting that bushing yet. Okay, so now I'm going to, I think I'm going to tap it while I've got it in position right there. I'm going to get some of this stuff I have over here put away so I don't mix it up. I got a couple of the drill bits here. I don't want to grab the wrong drill bit. I got my number 21 tap drill, and if I grabbed this drill by accident and didn't notice it, that would be bad. I changed taps because the other one was kind of short. So I changed to a more conventional tap. This tap that I was using is either a tap that broke at some point or a tap that was for a blind hole. A bottoming tap. I hope I didn't grab the wrong size. It says 1032 on it. 1032 NF. That's weird. I think the problem is my hole is so shallow that I'm not getting to the full Now that wouldn't explain. That would explain why it might get tight going in, but it doesn't explain why it didn't start. Well, that fits. Beats the heck out of me. All I know is that this should be done. Alright, so I just tried installing my new bracket, and it won't go in. These bolts won't go in. And the reason why is because the holes don't line up when I bring this all the way over. And I guess that should be expected, considering that I decided to move this block over this way. Well, what I ended up doing was I ended up moving my locations of my mounting holes 50 thousandths of an inch in from this edge, which essentially moves this block in reference to this plate 50 thousandths over this way. Well, I'm limited to how far this block can be over this way. So what I've got to do is I've got to account for that 50 thousandths now. And the easiest way for me to do that, I think, is going to be to take and mill 50 thousandths off of this end of the block, so that this little bearing right here, or this little washer, or whatever you want to call it, at the end of the lead screw, is sitting up against, is able to move out that way a little more. Or technically it's going to allow this to move in that way, that far. And I should have expected that, because I've got my scribe line that I could see, where I had the block on here before, and I can see that there's a space now between that scribe line and the edge of the block, and I bet you that space is exactly 50 thousandths. So I think I can still do this. Yeah, we just unscrew this again, take it off, put it in the mill, take 50 thousandths off, and that'll make up for this. Okay, so if I just mill off 50 thousandths from this side, like I said I was going to do, well, then I'm cutting into the side here where I was worried about that hole being too close to the edge, which is the whole reason why I bumped this over, the location of this hole over 50 thousandths in the first place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this end mill. Turns out that that end of the lead screw is 3/4 inch, 750 thousandths. This is a little bit over. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a plunge cut with this end mill right into the end here and cut a 50 thousandths deep recess in here. Now, to locate this, what I'm going to do, make my life easy, I got this dowel, fits in there perfect. I'm going to take this dowel, I'm going to put this in the chuck, and I'm going to use this to center it. Then I'll take the chuck out and I'll put in a collet for this size end mill. Hey everybody, the battery is dying on the camera again, so I didn't film this operation, but basically that's what I did. It was a 50,000, I countersunk this end 50 thousandths of an inch. I just tried the fit and it works well. Now when I slide this on to the end of the lead screw, I can get the mounting bolts in no problem, and I don't have excessive end play on that bearing, on that lead screw I should say. Alright, this is where I'm going to quit because it's New Year's Eve and I got to go upstairs and wash up and get ready. We're taking the whole family out to eat.